The phone buzzed against the kitchen counter while Clara was loading the dishwasher. She wiped her hands on her jeans and picked it up. Facebook notification. Brooke had posted a new album. Clara tapped it without thinking. Brooke posted everything. Lattes, workout selfies, the grocery haul. She expected another 20 photos of Tyler grilling in the backyard. The album title was Bennett Family in Paris. 87 photos. Clara's thumb hovered over the screen. She tapped the first one. There they were. Her mother, in a navy blue dress, standing in front of the Eiffel Tower with her arm linked through Robert's. Brooke next to them, sunglasses pushed up on her head, grinning. Jason with Maya on one side and Lily on his hip. 7 people. 7 people in Paris, in front of the Iron Tower that Clara had once told her mother she wanted to see before she turned 40. She swiped. The Seine at dusk, a restaurant table covered in wine glasses and bread. Her parents cutting a small cake in front of the Hôtel de Ville. A handwritten sign propped against the plate that said, 40 years. 40 years. Their anniversary. Clara sat down on the kitchen floor. The dishwasher hummed behind her. 3 weeks ago, her mother had called. Clara remembered the exact sound of her voice. Thick, tired, like she'd been crying. We had to cancel the trip, sweetheart. Your father's blood pressure medication went up and the car needs new tires and we just can't swing it. I'm so disappointed. Clara had comforted her. It's okay, Mom. 40 years is about you and Dad, not Paris. You can do something small at home. She had even offered to send money. Her mother had refused. No, you keep it. You work hard for yours. Clara had believed her. She swiped through the rest of the photos in a daze. Brooke feeding Lily a macaron. Jason pretending to flex in front of the Louvre. Her mother laughing, actually laughing in a way Clara hadn't seen in years. Not one photo included her. Not one background figure, not one accidental frame. She had not existed in that week. She closed the app. She set the phone face down on the floor. She did not call anyone. She did not text Brooke. She did not post anything passive-aggressive. She sat on the linoleum and listened to the dishwasher finish its cycle and said nothing. That was Tuesday. On Friday, her phone buzzed again. A text from Mom. Clara, the water heater broke. The repairman says it's $1,800. Your father's pension check hasn't hit yet. Can you send it? I'll pay you back, I promise. Clara read the message 3 times. $1,800, while they were in Paris. While she was paying for a trip she hadn't been invited on, her mother was asking for more. She opened the messaging app. She typed, "Sure, I'll send it." She deleted it. She typed, "Are you kidding me?" She deleted that too. She stared at the blinking cursor. She thought about the 87 photos. She thought about her mother's voice on the phone, 3 weeks ago, lying about the car tires. She thought about the $3,000 she'd transferred in January, labeled anniversary fund, which her mother had later said was used for emergencies. She typed one sentence. She read it back. It was simple. It was not dramatic. It did not contain everything she felt. It couldn't, because everything she felt was too large for a text message. But it was the first thing she had said to her mother in years that was not designed to keep the peace. She pressed send. I saw the photos, Mom. All 87 of them. The message went through at 7:42 p.m. Clara watched the blue bubble settle into the conversation thread, then set the phone face down on the coffee table. She picked it up 3 times in the next hour. No reply. By Saturday morning, still nothing. She called Denise. Her best friend picked up on the second ring, and Clara told her everything. The photos, the canceled trip, the water heater text, the message she'd sent. There was a long pause on the other end. She hasn't written back, Denise said. Not a word. She's ghosting you because you finally called her bluff. That's what manipulators do. They wait you out until you feel crazy and apologize. Clara sat on the edge of her bed. What if I overreacted? Clara, they went to Paris without you, and then asked you for $1,800. You didn't overreact. You reacted. They talked for 40 minutes. By the end, Clara felt steadier. She put her phone in the kitchen and went for a run along the creek path. When she came back, showered, and checked her phone, there was still nothing. 3 days later, her mother called. Clara stared at the screen. Mom, she answered. Clara, sweetheart, we got back yesterday. You should see the perfume I brought you. They had this little shop near the Louvre, and I thought of you immediately. Her voice was bright, warm, the way she sounded when nothing was wrong. Clara's stomach tightened. Mom, yes, honey? Why wasn't I invited? The line went quiet. Clara could hear her mother breathing. Then carefully. What do you mean, sweetheart? You said you couldn't take time off work. I didn't want to pressure you. You're always so busy. You told me the trip was canceled. Another pause. Well, your father surprised me. He found a last-minute deal online. We didn't think you'd want to rush into something like that. You hate last-minute plans. Clara closed her eyes. I hate last-minute plans? Mom, I once drove 6 hours to Brooke's baby shower because she texted me the night before. That was different. That was family. The words landed like a slap. Clara gripped the phone. And Paris wasn't? Clara, I really don't want to fight about this. We're home, we had a lovely time, and I brought you a gift. Can we just... What about the $3,000 I sent in January? The anniversary fund? Her mother's voice shifted. It got smaller, wounded. That money went toward your father's medication, Clara. You know how expensive his prescriptions are. I would never have asked if we didn't need it. You told me it was for the trip. I told you it was for the anniversary. Your father's health is part of our anniversary. I can't believe you're auditing me like this. Clara didn't say anything. She listened to her mother breathe on the other end. I have to go, her mother said finally. Your father needs help with the luggage. We'll talk soon, okay? I love you. She hung up. Clara stood in the middle of her living room. The call had lasted 8 minutes. Her mother had not once apologized. Had not once said she was sorry Clara wasn't there. She opened her banking app. She went back 3 years. January 2023, $3,000, memo anniversary. March 2023, more 200, memo help with roof. August 2023, $800, memo mom's birthday dinner. November 2023, $1,500, memo emergency. January 2024, $2,000, memo dad's medical. April 2024, $900, memo Brooke's shower. July 2024, $1,800, memo car repair. She kept scrolling. The numbers added up. Over $11,000 in 3 years. Every transfer labeled with a reason. Every reason a demand she hadn't questioned. She took screenshots. One by one, she created a new folder on her phone and named it Records. Her hands were shaking when she finished. Not from anger anymore. From something colder, the realization that she hadn't been a daughter. She'd been a line item. The text came on Tuesday morning. Mom, Brooke's baby shower is next month. Can you sponsor the venue? It's $500. She'd be so hurt if you couldn't. Clara read it twice. Then she typed, I can't this month. She hit send before she could overthink it. The response was immediate. I can't believe you're doing this to your sister. After everything we've done for you, you've become so cold, Clara. Another text. Your sister is having a baby. This is supposed to be a happy time. Another. I never thought you'd be the one to hold a grudge over a trip. Clara put the phone down. She ate her breakfast. She got ready for work. By the time she was in her car, the phone had buzzed 4 more times. She didn't look. At noon, Brooke called. Clara stepped into the break room. Clara. Brooke's voice was thick. Mom says you won't help with the shower. Is this about Paris? Can't you just let it go? It was a trip, Clara. It's not like they forgot your birthday. Clara leaned against the counter. She told you I was holding a grudge. She told me you're angry and you're taking it out on everyone. Of course she did. Clara closed her eyes. Brooke, I'm not taking it out on anyone. I just can't afford $500 right now. You sent Mom $3,000 in January. The room went quiet. Clara's turned to be speechless. She told you that? She said you were always so generous with the family. And now you're not. I don't know what happened to you. Clara hung up. She stood in the break room for a long time, staring at the vending machine. Her mother had reframed everything. Clara wasn't a daughter who'd been lied to and excluded. She was the angry sister who'd turned selfish. The family had their story. Clara had her screenshots. Sunday dinner was at 6. Clara almost didn't go. But she put on a clean sweater and drove to Littleton anyway, because if she didn't show up, her mother would say Clara was too proud to even break bread with us. The house smelled like roast beef. Robert was in his recliner. Brooke and Tyler were on the couch. Jason was chasing Lily around the coffee table. Margaret was at the stove, and when Clara walked in, she turned and smiled like nothing had happened. "Clara, you came. I made your favorite, garlic mashed potatoes." She served Clara a heaping plate. She asked about work. She talked about Paris, the gardens, the pastries, how Lily had said bonjour to a stranger and everyone had laughed. Clara listened. She ate. She waited. When Margaret raised her wineglass and said, "To family," Clara set down her fork. "I want to know why I paid for a trip I wasn't invited on." The table went silent. Robert stared at his plate. Brooke's mouth opened and closed. Jason stopped mid-reach for the rolls. Margaret set her glass down slowly. "Clara, I really don't think this is the time." "When? When is the time? You told me the trip was canceled. You took my $3,000. You went to Paris with everyone but me. And then you asked me for $1,800 for a water heater while you were there." Margaret stood up. Tears came fast, practiced, instantaneous. "I gave you life, Clara. I stayed up with you when you had asthma as a kid. I worked 2 jobs so you could have braces. And this is how you repay me?" She left the table. Her bedroom door clicked shut. No one moved. Jason looked at Clara, his jaw tight. "You shouldn't have done that here." "Where should I have done it, Jason?" "In a text? In a Facebook comment?" He didn't answer. He got up and went after their mother. Clara looked at her father. He was still staring at his plate. He didn't look up. He didn't say anything. She picked up her keys from the counter and walked out. In the car, she sat for 10 minutes. Her hands were gripping the steering wheel so hard her knuckles hurt. She didn't cry. She pulled out her phone and texted Denise, "I'm done being the bank." A week passed. No one called. No one texted. Well, almost no one. Jason sent a single message on Wednesday. "Give Mom some time. She's really hurt." Clara didn't reply. On Friday, she called Denise. She needed someone to be on her side. She read Denise the screenshots, the text chains, the whole timeline. When she finished, there was a pause. "Clara," Denise said carefully, "I love you. You know I do. But are you sure you're not blowing this up? Your mom messed up. Bad. But do you really need to go to war over it?" Clara's stomach dropped. "Not you too. What does that mean?" "It means everyone thinks I'm the problem. Mom, Brooke, Jason, and now you?" "I didn't say you were the problem. I said maybe there's a middle ground. You've been giving your family money for years and never said anything. Now suddenly you're documenting everything like you're building a case. It's intense. It's intense because it's real. They lied to me, Denise. They used my money and left me out. I know. I've been telling you for years they take advantage of you. But now that you're actually doing something, you're not listening to me either. You're just angry." Clara's voice sharpened. "So I'm supposed to be calm while my mother steals from me?" "I didn't say that. I'm saying be careful you don't burn everything down because you're hurt." Clara hung up. She threw the phone onto the couch. She paced the apartment. Her best friend, the one person who was supposed to get it, was asking her to moderate, as if moderation had ever gotten her anything but excluded. She thought about Jason, his weak little text. "Give Mom some time." She typed a message she shouldn't have. "You're just Mom's good boy, aren't you? Never rock the boat. Never ask questions. Just smile and nod while she treats me like an ATM." She hit send. What Clara didn't know was that Jason had spent that evening at his parents' house, asking Margaret point blank where the Paris money had come from. He'd asked about the $3,000 Clara had sent. Margaret had gotten defensive, really defensive, and changed the subject. Jason had left feeling uneasy. Then Clara's message arrived, and he closed his phone. Margaret got to work. In the family group chat, the one Clara had been quietly removed from 2 days earlier, she wrote, "Clara is going through a hard time. She's saying things that aren't true. I think the breakup with Ethan really affected her more than we realized. Let's give her space. She needs help, not anger." Brooke read it. Tyler read it. Jason read it and said nothing. On Saturday, Brooke texted Clara directly. I'm sorry, but I can't be in the middle of this. Don't contact me until you're ready to apologize to Mom. She's 62 years old and you're destroying her. Clara stared at the message. Apologize? For what? For asking why she wasn't in Paris? Monday at work, she was mid-cleaning on a patient when her hand slipped. The ultrasonic scaler nicked the patient's gum. A small bleed. Nothing serious, but the patient flinched. And Clara's manager, Karen, appeared in the doorway with that look. Clara, can I see you after your shift? In Karen's office, Clara sat across from the woman who'd hired her 6 years ago. You're one of our best hygienists, Karen said. But lately you're distracted. Your numbers are off. Patients are commenting. Is everything okay at home? Clara opened her mouth, closed it. She couldn't say my mother stole my grandmother's inheritance, and my whole family is pretending I'm crazy. So she said, I'm fine, just tired. It won't happen again. Driving home, she opened the family group chat to type something, anything, and found she was no longer a member. The conversation was gone. She sat in the parking lot of her apartment complex, scrolling through her contacts. She could call Denise, but they'd fought. She could call Jason, but she'd just insulted him. She could call her father, but he'd never picked up the phone first in his life. She put the car in park and rested her forehead on the steering wheel. For the first time in her life, Clara Bennett had no one to call. Clara couldn't sleep. It was 2 a.m. and she was on her laptop, scrolling through 3 years of bank statements, when she saw it, June 14, 2023. Transfer to Margaret Bennett, $3,000. Memo. Eleanor's gift. Eleanor. Her grandmother. Her mother's mother. She died in April of that year at 81. Clara remembered the funeral. She remembered her mother pulling her aside afterward, voice low. Grandma didn't leave much, sweetheart. Just some old jewelry and a few $100s in cash. I split it between you kids. Here's $3,000. She wanted you to have it. Clara had taken the check. She'd thanked her mother. She'd never questioned it. But now she was looking at her own bank statement, and the money had gone the other direction. She'd transferred $3,000 to her mother, labeled Eleanor's gift. Not received. Sent. She sat up. She opened a new browser tab. Colorado probate records were public. She typed in her grandmother's name. Eleanor May Carter. Date of death, April 9, 2023. County, Arapahoe. The case came up. Letters of authority issued to Margaret Bennett as personal representative. The inventory was filed 3 months later, and there, attached to the final accounting, was the will. Clara downloaded it. Her hands were cold. She found the clause on page 2. I leave the sum of $15,000, to my granddaughter, Clara Marie Bennett, who has always been most like me. I hope she uses it to do something that brings her joy, something for herself alone. 15,000. Not 3, 15. Her mother had kept $12,000. $12,000 that was supposed to be Clara's. That her grandmother had specifically left her. And the timeline. The estate had closed in September 2023. The Paris trip had been booked that November. Clara did the math. The $3,000 she'd sent in January for the anniversary fund. The $12,000 from the estate. $15,000 of Clara's money, funding a trip she hadn't been invited on. She felt sick. Not the hot anger of before. Something colder, cleaner. This wasn't favoritism. This wasn't a mother who loved her other children more. This was calculated. Her mother had looked at a dying woman's final wish and decided Clara didn't deserve it. She picked up her phone. She had 12 unread messages from Jason that she'd never opened, sent in the days after her angry text. She'd assumed they were more of the same. Give Mom time. Calm down. She opened them now. The first was from the night of the dinner. Clara, I asked Mom about the Paris money tonight. She got really defensive, like weirdly defensive. She changed the subject. I don't know what that means, but something feels off. The next. She told me you sent her a really mean text. I haven't read it. I don't want to. I just want to know if you're okay. Another. Do you know anything about Grandma's estate? Mom got weird when I mentioned it. And the last one, sent 3 days ago. I think she's lying about something. Call me when you can." Clara stared at the screen. She'd pushed away the one person who was already asking the right questions. She got up and went to the hall closet. On the top shelf was a cardboard box her mother had given her after the funeral. "Grandma's things for you." She'd never opened it. She pulled it down now. Inside, a faded photograph of Eleanor at 20, a pair of wire-rimmed glasses, a handkerchief with lace edges, and a sealed envelope with Clara's name on it in her grandmother's looping handwriting. Clara opened it. The letter was short. "Clara, if you're reading this, I'm gone. I need you to hear something I never had the courage to say out loud. Don't let your mother make you feel small. She's been doing it to me for 40 years. She does it because she's afraid of women who know their own worth. You are worth more than she will ever tell you. Love. Grandma." Clara held the letter against her chest. She sat on the floor of her hallway and let herself cry, not from sadness, but from the strange relief of being seen. Even from beyond the grave, at 3:30 in the morning, she texted Jason back, "Can we meet? I need to show you something." They met at a Starbucks on Colorado Boulevard. Jason was already there when Clara walked in, nursing a latte, his knee bouncing under the table. He looked tired. She set the papers down between them, the printed will, the bank statements, the screenshots. "Read it," he read. His face went through several things: surprise, confusion, then something that looked like shame. When he finished, he pushed the papers back. "This is a lot," he said. "Is it true, though? That's all I'm asking." Jason rubbed his face. "I don't know. I mean, the will says what it says. But Mom, she's our mom, Clara. People make mistakes with estate stuff. Maybe she thought she was doing the right thing. Maybe she was going to tell you and forgot. $12,000, Jason. She didn't forget. She told me Grandma left $3,000. She lied to my face." He was quiet for a long time. "I need to think about this. I can't just... I have Maya. I have Lily. I can't blow up my family over a piece of paper." Clara felt something crack inside her. Not anger, disappointment. "I'm not asking you to blow anything up. I'm asking you to know the truth. I know. And I hear you. But I need time." She left the coffee shop feeling worse than when she'd arrived. Jason wasn't a villain. He was a man with a wife and a toddler and a mortgage, and the truth was inconvenient. She got that. She just wished it didn't mean she was alone again. By Monday, she wasn't alone. She was in Karen's office. Her manager had the schedule spreadsheet open. "Clara, you've called out twice this month. Your patient satisfaction scores are down, and last week you nicked someone's gum. I need to know if you're okay." Clara looked at the woman who'd given her her first job out of hygiene school. She thought about saying she was fine. She thought about the will, the group chat, Brooke's text, her father's silence. "I'm not okay," she said, and then she was crying. Not quietly. The kind of crying that comes from somewhere you didn't know was holding anything. She covered her face. Karen came around the desk and put a hand on her shoulder. "Whatever it is," Karen said, "you need to handle it. Take a personal day. Get some rest. But I need you back, Clara, the Clara I hired." Clara nodded. She spent the rest of the day in the bathroom stall at work, waiting for her face to stop being red. That evening, her mother called. Clara almost didn't answer. She did. "Your father's birthday is next Sunday," Margaret said. Her tone was bright, controlled, the hostess voice. "We're having dinner here. You're welcome to come if you can behave yourself." If you can behave yourself. Clara gripped the phone. "Is that an invitation or a performance review?" "Clara, I'm trying. I'm extending an olive branch. The least you can do is..." "Okay," Clara said. "I'll be there." She hung up before her mother could respond. She sat on her couch. The will was on the coffee table. Her grandmother's letter was on top of it. She read it again. "Don't let your mother make you feel small." For the first time, Clara asked herself the question she'd been avoiding. What am I actually fighting for? She'd told herself she wanted an apology. She'd told herself she wanted the money. But underneath those things, there was something older and more embarrassing. She wanted to be chosen. She wanted her mother to look at her and say, "You matter. You belong. I'm sorry I made you feel like you didn't." And that was never going to happen. Not because Clara hadn't earned it, because her mother was incapable of it. The woman who'd stolen from her own mother for 40 years wasn't going to suddenly see Clara clearly. Clara had been afraid of losing her family. But sitting there in the quiet of her apartment, she realized something. She hadn't had a family in a long time. She'd had a role. The reliable one, the generous one, the one who didn't make trouble. And the moment she stopped playing the role, they'd shown her exactly how much she was worth to them. She picked up her phone. She texted Denise, "I'm sorry. You were right. About all of it." The reply came in 30 seconds. "I know, I'm coming over with wine. And don't you dare apologize again." Clara smiled, a real one, small but steady. She set the phone down and looked at her grandmother's letter. She would go to her father's birthday dinner. Not to beg for acceptance, not to keep the peace. She would go because it was time to say everything, out loud, in front of everyone, and let the pieces fall where they may. Clara did 2 things before Sunday dinner. First, she called Denver Legal Aid. They booked her a free 30-minute consultation with a probate attorney named Sarah Lynn. Clara brought the will, the bank statements, the screenshots. Sarah read through everything quickly, then looked up. As a named beneficiary, you're entitled to a full accounting of the estate. If your mother distributed less than the will specified and kept the difference, that's a breach of fiduciary duty. You can demand the accounting in writing. If she doesn't comply, you can petition the court. Would that be suing her? Technically, yes. But the first step is a formal demand letter. Most people settle before it gets to court. Sarah paused. I need to be honest with you, Clara. If you send that letter, it will end your relationship with your mother. Probably permanently. Clara thought about the 87 photos. It's already over. I just haven't told her yet. Second, she emailed Jason the full set of documents. The will, the estate accounting, the transfer records. She wrote one line. I'm not asking you to choose sides. I'm asking you to know the truth. Whatever you do with it is your choice. He didn't reply. She didn't expect him to. Sunday at 6, she parked in front of her parents' house. The porch light was on. She could hear voices through the door. She took a breath and rang the bell. Margaret opened it. She was wearing a floral blouse, her hair done. Clara, you came. How lovely. She kissed the air beside Clara's cheek and stepped aside. Everyone was there. Robert in his good shirt. Brooke and Tyler on the couch. Jason and Maya with Lily in the playpen. The dining table was set with the good china, the stuff Margaret only brought out for holidays. Dinner was tense but normal. Margaret served roast chicken. She asked Tyler about work. She cooed at Lily. Clara ate. She waited. When the plates were cleared and Margaret raised her wine glass, Clara set down her fork. To Robert, Margaret said, smiling. 40 years of marriage. 3 wonderful children. And the best husband a woman could. Mom, Clara said. Before we toast, I have something to say. The room went still. Margaret's smile didn't falter, but her eyes narrowed. Clara, this is your father's night. Can this wait? No, it can't. Clara looked around the table. Her father's hands were folded. Brooke was staring at her wine glass. Jason was watching Clara with an expression she couldn't read. The anniversary trip wasn't canceled, Clara said. Her voice was steady. She'd practiced this in the car. Mom told me it was. She said Dad's medication got too expensive. She said the car needed tires. But the trip happened. All of you went to Paris. Every single one of you. Except me. No one spoke. I sent Mom $3,000 in January for the anniversary fund. She told me later it was used for Dad's medicine. But I found the bank records. That money went into her account. And I found something else. She paused. Grandma's will. She left me $15,000. Mom gave me 3. She kept 12. And that money helped pay for a trip I wasn't invited on. Brooke's head snapped up. What? Clara turned to her father. Dad, you knew. You went on that trip. You stood in front of the Eiffel Tower and you smiled for photos. You didn't call me. You didn't text. I want to know why. Robert's mouth opened. He looked at Margaret, then back at Clara. Clara, Your mother said you didn't want to come. She said you were busy with work, and you'd be upset if we pressured you. You thought I'd rather not be with my family on your 40th anniversary? Clara's voice cracked just slightly. That's what you thought of me? Margaret set down her glass hard enough that the wine sloshed. That is enough, Clara. You are ruining your father's birthday with these lies, and I'm not finished. The words came out quieter than Clara intended, but they landed. Margaret stared at her. For the first time, Clara could see it, the flicker of uncertainty behind her mother's eyes. The realization that tears and guilt and the good china weren't going to make Clara sit down and shut up. Clara looked at Jason. He was holding his phone, the email she'd sent open on the screen. His face had gone pale. He looked at Margaret, then at Clara, and set the phone face down on the table. I want the $12,000 back, Clara said. Not because I need it, because it was Grandma's, and she wanted me to have it. She stood up. Happy birthday, Dad, she walked out. 48 hours after the dinner, Jason called. I asked Mom about the will, he said without preamble. I showed her the documents. She completely lost it, started screaming that you were an ungrateful liar, that you'd forged everything, that you were trying to destroy the family. He paused. She's never yelled at me like that. Not ever. Clara held the phone to her ear. What did you say? I said I wanted to believe her. But the numbers don't add up, Clara. The will says 15,000. She gave you 3. That's not a misunderstanding. That's theft. His voice was quiet. I'm sorry it took me this long. Clara closed her eyes. Thank you for saying that. I'm on your side, he said. Whatever that means now, it meant something. It meant she wasn't the only one who knew. Brooke still wasn't speaking to her. But 2 days later, a text came from an unknown number, Tyler. Hey Clara, it's Tyler. I always thought it was weird you weren't in Paris. Brooke said you didn't want to come, but I never bought it. I'm sorry I didn't say anything. You didn't deserve that. Clara read it twice. She wrote back, thank you. That means a lot. She didn't hear from her father. She didn't expect to. Then Margaret made her move. It was Tuesday at the clinic. Karen found Clara between patients, her face tight. I need to talk to you. Your mother called here this morning. Clara's blood went cold. She did what? She spoke to Marisol at the front desk. Said you were going through a difficult time, that you weren't yourself, that if you showed any signs of instability, we should contact her. She gave Marisol her personal number. Karen's voice was careful. Clara, is there something I should know? No. Clara's hands were shaking. There is nothing wrong with me. My mother is angry because I confronted her about stealing from me, and this is how she retaliates. Karen studied her. Marisol wrote down everything your mother said. We keep call logs. Do you want a copy? Yes. Clara's voice was steadier than she felt. Please. She left work with a printed copy of the call log. Her mother had tried to label her mentally unstable at her workplace. She had reached into Clara's livelihood, the one thing Clara had that had nothing to do with the family, and tried to poison it. That afternoon, Clara called Sarah Lynn. I want to send the demand letter. Are you sure? I'm sure. The letter went out by certified mail that Friday. Formal notice to Margaret Bennett as personal representative of the estate of Eleanor Carter. Provide a complete and itemized accounting within 30 days, or face a petition to the probate court. Margaret called Clara the moment she signed for it. You're going to sue your own mother? Her voice was shrill, raw, nothing like the controlled hostess of Sunday dinner. What is wrong with you? What kind of person does this? I'm not suing you, Mom. I'm asking for what Grandma left me. If you give back the $12,000, this ends. No court, no lawyers, nothing. $12,000? Margaret laughed, and it was an ugly sound. You'd destroy your family over $12,000? I didn't destroy anything. You did. When you lied about Paris, when you took Grandma's money, when you called my job and told them I was crazy. Clara paused. That last one was a mistake, by the way. They logged the call. I have it in writing. Silence. Then Margaret's voice dropped to something colder, more deliberate, the weapon she saved for when she was truly cornered. You want to know why your grandmother left you that money? She felt sorry for you. She knew you'd never be happy. She knew no man would ever stay with you. Ethan left, and now you're alone, and she pitied you. That's all it ever was. Pity, the words landed. Clara felt them. For half a second, she was 12 years old again, standing in her mother's kitchen, being told she was too much and not enough at the same time. Then she remembered her grandmother's letter. She has always been most like me. Grandma didn't pity me, Clara said. She saw me. That's the difference between you and her. She looked at me and saw someone worth something. You look at me and see a bank account. She hung up. She stood in her kitchen, the demand letter receipt on the counter, the call log beside it. 30 days. Her mother had 30 days to produce the accounting or face court. Clara knew her mother wouldn't produce the accounting. She knew what was coming. The final conversation. The one where there were no more excuses, no more tears, no more versions of the truth. Just two people in a room, and one of them finally walking out for good. The 30 days expired on a Thursday. Margaret hadn't filed an accounting. Instead, she texted Clara that morning. Come to the house at 5. We need to talk. Just us. Clara called Jason. Will you drive me? Wait in the car? I don't want to be in there alone. Of course. At 5, Jason pulled into the driveway of the house Clara had grown up in. The oak tree in the front yard was bigger than she remembered. The porch needed painting. Everything looked smaller, older, shabbier than it had when she was a kid, and this house was the center of the world. Call me if you need me, Jason said. I'll be right here. Clara nodded and got out. Margaret was in her armchair, the brown corduroy one she'd owned since the 90s. Robert was on the sofa beside her, his hands folded in his lap. The coffee table between them had a single piece of paper on it, a check. Clara sat down across from them. She didn't pick it up. $12,000, Margaret said. Her voice was flat, drained. It's all there. You can take it. Clara looked at the check, her mother's handwriting. The amount in numbers and words, pay to the order of Clara Bennett. But, Margaret said, and Clara heard the word land like a door closing. If you cash that check, you don't get to come back here. You don't get a family. You don't get holidays or birthdays or phone calls. You get $12,000 and that's it. The room was quiet. Robert stared at his hands. Clara looked at her mother. Really looked at her. The lines around her mouth. The way she held her chin high even when she was scared. The same hands that had tied Clara's shoes and signed her report cards and signed away her inheritance. You're offering me my own money as if it's a gift, Clara said, and you're threatening me with a family that was never mine to begin with. I am your mother, Margaret said. Her voice trembled. I carried you for 9 months. I stayed up with you when you had croup. I drove you to every orthodontist appointment. I worked at that school for 20 years, so you kids could have health insurance. I sacrificed. I know you did. Clara's voice was gentle, and that seemed to unsettle Margaret more than anger would have. I know, and I'm grateful. Truly. But that doesn't give you the right to steal from me. It doesn't give you the right to decide I don't deserve to be in the family photo. It doesn't give you the right to call my job and tell them I'm crazy. Margaret opened her mouth, but Clara kept going. You had a choice. Mom, you could have told me the truth about Paris. You could have given me Grandma's money. You could have said I'm sorry and I would have forgiven you. But you didn't. You chose the money and the control and the story where I'm the villain. And I'm done living in that story. Robert looked up. For the first time in Clara's memory, he spoke without looking at his wife first. Maggie, I think we need to... Stay out of this, Robert. Margaret's voice was sharp. Then she turned back to Clara, and her face did something strange. It crumpled, just for a second, before the mask came back. Get out, and don't come back. Clara picked up the check. She folded it once and put it in her pocket. At the front door, she turned around. Her mother was staring at the wall. Her father was staring at the floor. I didn't want this to be the end, Clara said, but you made it the only option. She closed the door behind her. Jason was in the car, the engine running. She got in and pulled the check out of her pocket, laying it on the dashboard. She gave it to me. Clara buckled her seatbelt. Let's go. Jason pulled out of the driveway. Clara watched the house in the side mirror. The oak tree, the porch, the window where her mother's curtain twitched once and then went still. The house got smaller. Then it was gone. She didn't cry. She put her hand on the check on the dashboard and felt the paper through her fingers, and for the first time in her life, she didn't feel like she was leaving something behind. She felt like she was taking something back. A month later, Clara cashed the check. She didn't spend it. She opened a high-yield savings account and named it Eleanor's Gift. The money sat there, earning interest, doing the quiet work her grandmother had intended, giving Clara options. No one from the family called. Well, almost no one. Jason texted every Sunday. Sometimes they met for coffee. Him with Lily in a high chair, crumbs everywhere. He never asked about their mother. Clara never brought her up. They talked about Lily's words, about the leaky faucet in Jason's kitchen, about whether the Broncos would ever have a decent quarterback again. It was enough. Brooke never called. But Tyler texted once, 3 weeks after the dinner. Brooke says she doesn't agree with how your mom handled it, but she can't be in the middle. Maybe someday things will be different, Clara wrote back. Whenever she's ready. No pressure. Her father texted on a Tuesday night. 5 words. I'm sorry, Clara. She stared at it for a long time. Then she wrote, I know, Dad. She didn't ask for more. He didn't offer it. It was the most honest conversation they'd ever had. At work, things settled. Karen pulled her aside after a morning shift. You're like a different person lately, she said. Calmer. Your patients are commenting. Whatever you did, keep doing it. Clara smiled. I stopped trying to make everyone happy. Must be nice, Karen said, and laughed. Denise came over on a Friday night with takeout and a bottle of wine. They sat on Clara's balcony, the Denver skyline glowing to the east, the Rockies a dark ridge to the west. I'm proud of you, Denise said, raising her glass. Not because you won, because you stopped trying to win someone who wasn't competing fair. Clara clinked her glass against Denise's. I couldn't have done it without you. Damn right. I've been telling you for years, they laughed. Clara looked out at the mountains and thought about how much of her life she'd spent waiting for a phone call that never came, for an invitation that never arrived, for a mother who would never look at her the way she looked at Brooke. She wasn't waiting anymore. That was the difference. The following Monday, she signed up for a pottery class. It was something she'd wanted to do since she was a teenager. She'd even mentioned it to her mother once, who'd said, That's nice, sweetheart. But when would you have time? She'd believed her. She'd believed she didn't have time for things that were just for her. The class was on Wednesday nights at a community studio in Englewood. Her first mug was lopsided. The handle fell off twice. The instructor, a patient woman named Rosa, said, That's what the first one is for. You learn more from the ugly ones. Clara kept it. She brought it home and put it on her kitchen windowsill. There was a man in the class named Marcus. He was 36, a high school biology teacher, and he was also terrible at pottery. They laughed about it during the glazing portion, comparing their misshapen bowls. After class, he said, Want to get a coffee sometime? Not pottery related. I promise I'm more interesting than my clay work. Clara gave him her number. It wasn't a grand romance. It wasn't Ethan, and it wasn't meant to be. It was just a person being kind, and Clara saying yes, and that felt like enough. On a Saturday evening in June, Clara sat on her balcony with tea in her lopsided first mug. The sun was setting behind the mountains, painting the sky pink and orange. She picked up her phone. She didn't open Facebook. She opened her camera, pointed it at the mug on the small table beside her, and took a photo. She opened Instagram. She typed a caption. First mug. Not perfect, mine. She posted it. She didn't tag anyone. She didn't check to see who liked it. She set the phone down and picked up her tea. 87 photos in Paris. 7 people. None of them her. She thought about that sometimes. Not with the old ache, but with a kind of distant wonder. She had spent years wanting to be in someone else's photograph. And here she was, in her own life, finally taking pictures of her own. The phone buzzed. A text from Denise. What are you doing tonight? Clara smiled. She typed back, Want to get dinner? My treat. Then she put the phone face down on the table and watched the sun finish setting over the mountains. The tea was warm. The mug was imperfect. The evening was quiet. For the first time in a long time, Clara Bennett was exactly where she wanted to be.